Hi, friends, and welcome to episode 7 of our root cause mini-series. You're not ill, your well is running dry. How dehydration causes disease and symptoms are just thirst signals. So if you tend to think of hydration as just an afterthought, keep watching, because today we're looking at the water stress pathway. How about the most common ailment in America? Stress. Could your mood swings, your fatigue, your lack of focus, could these all be your body's way of asking for more of what it needs most, more of what it's fundamentally made of, water, not just for more willpower or to just power through the stressful situation? Most people think stress is about deadlines or pressure or emotional overload, but what if the real culprit is actually much more internal than external and much more preventable? What if when you're actually hydrated, your whole physical and mental system is more lubricated so things can just kind of glide off you like water off a duck's back, and so that you flow gracefully through the obstacle course of life like a stream over stones instead of the dry, rubbing, gritty friction of just powering through your daily grind when you're stressed out and dehydrated. It just gives you so much more of a buffer and so much more resilience. So let's look into the pathways. What actually happens? Well, when you're dehydrated, your body releases hormones like cortisol and vasopressin. These hormones are designed to help you survive by conserving water. So your body is this brilliant thirst management system of dehydration regulators. And these hormones like cortisol and vasopressin cut off capillaries, reduce urine output, and hold on to every drop. But that comes at a cost. Blood flow to your skin and your muscles and even your brain is reduced under those conditions. Detoxification starts slowing down, acids, inflammation, and metabolic waste build up in your body's now stagnant, dammed up waterways, and that translates into feelings of fatigue, anxiety, depression, and a slow erosion of your mental resilience and fortitude. All of these mental frictions, they're all just disguised thirst signals. In fact, dehydration itself is a major stressor for your body. So then when your life goes into stress mode, dehydration just exacerbates it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Even a 1% drop in hydration triggers cognitive storms. These can manifest as sudden confusion or mood swings or trouble focusing or just general irritation with life. By the time you feel thirsty, you could be already 2% dehydrated. Thirst is not an accurate signal of dehydration when we're dealing with UCD. Studies show that dehydration impairs concentration, increases feelings of anxiety, and makes it harder to cope with everyday challenges. In fact, research published in the Journal of Nutrition found that mild dehydration can cause headaches, lower mood, reduce memory and brain performance, even in healthy young adults. So if you think and feel this dehydrated way often enough, you start to create an attitude. Mind you, you don't realize it's dehydration, you just feel irritated and foggy and stressed. But if that continues often enough, if you think and feel in this dehydrated way often enough, you start to create a cycle of short-term thoughts and feelings that are experienced over and over again. But when you string a series of attitudes together over the long term, you create a belief. Beliefs create a perception, and your perceptions create the reality that you live in. So if life isn't going your way in general, just ask yourself, how long have I been low-level dehydrated? And how has that been affecting the way that I perceive myself and the world? How many ways might that be rippling out into my attitudes, my beliefs, my perceptions of myself and others and the world around me? It's not like your body tells you in the clearest terms, oh, you know what, this friction and this anxiety I've been feeling, it's just thirst. Chances are you don't even actually know when you're suffering from unintentional chronic dehydration, because we as a society rarely address the chronic long-term effects that dehydration can have on your mood and your sense of self. It's just not very widely known, although it's actually very well researched. And what happens when that dehydrated mood lingers over time, it becomes your temperament. That's your tendency towards the habitual expression of a way of being. It is a consistent cognitive storm, not just a short-term one, where you go around in a state that is generally more unfocused and stagnated than it would be if you were juicy and hydrated and lubricated. And if you sustain these same dehydrating lifestyle practices for months and even years, then that tendency turns into a personality trait. And you just identify with being that way. You just say, oh yeah, I'm a little grumpy. Oh yeah, I kind of had road rage. Oh yeah, I have ADD. It's hard for me to concentrate. Being dehydrated becomes a part of who you are. I've seen it in action in so many of the clients that I work with, where they start to get actually genuinely strategically rehydrated, and then suddenly all of their relationships start magically improving. Their marriage has better communication. They start to feel like themselves again. They have more patience and more focus with work or with school. And it's not just subjective or just inconvenient. It can be downright dangerous to sustain this low-level dehydration in the long term. In a 2015 study, researchers found that mild dehydration, just as little as 1.1% loss of body mass, which is very common, more than doubled the number of driving errors compared to when drivers were fully hydrated. In a 2-hour simulated driving task, the hydrated drivers made on average 47 errors, while the dehydrated drivers made 101 errors. Researchers concluded that the magnitude of impairment from just dehydration was comparable to drivers with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08%, which is the typical legal driving limit in many countries. So it goes so far beyond just stress, although stress is a huge part of it. It's just how easily we function on a daily basis, how much we feel like ourselves. So maybe your road rage is just thirst in disguise. And of course, this becomes a vicious cycle because stress causes dehydration, and dehydration makes you more stressed, more anxious, less able to think clearly. So if you're feeling tired or confused or unfocused or overwhelmed, don't just blame your schedule or your mindset. Ask yourself, am I truly hydrated? Am I consistently implementing the informed strategic rehydration protocols that Isabel teaches at waterslife.academy? Wink, wink. Because this is one of the most dangerous vicious cycles when it comes to our water bodies. The more dehydrated you are, the more stressed you will be, but also the more stressed you are, the more destructured your intracellular fluid becomes because your biofield is not coherent when you're stressed out. And that destructuring is the most pernicious type of dehydration. Your body also then burns through a lot more minerals and electrolytes when you're stressed out. And yet mineral deficiency is one of the other most common and pernicious forms of dehydration. So once again, the cycle just repeats itself ad nauseum. You've got to know how to step in and take care of that beautiful body of water of yours and caretake its internal hydrological cycles. You have to hydrate so that the micro streams of flowing water inside your nerves aren't causing your nervous system to be on edge. You have to hydrate so that your fascia, which stores memories and emotions and traumas as dried out areas in that spongy matrix, is actually able to wash those clear and allow your energy to flow more fluidly and allow water to come in with its beautifully baptismal effect of washing the stressors and the memories of the day clean. You can't do that. Your fascia cannot irrigate that well when it's dried out. You have to hydrate so that your lymphatic fluid can wash your brain clean and so that you don't feel that distractible, foggy, grumpy effect of just having too much metabolic waste built up in your brain. You have to hydrate so that you have the lubrication that you need to let daily stressors glide off of you like water off of a duck's back. I see it in my clients all the time, and I cannot understate the importance of this. The more hydrated my clients become, the more resilient they are. It just happens time and time again. So as you can see, hydration cannot just be an afterthought. In a body that's 70% water by volume and 99.9% water molecularly, caring for your waters is the origin of health. When we realize that aging and disease are byproducts or symptoms of the loss of structure in our cellular fluids, then we arrive at a more effective approach to treatment that's based on the actual mechanics of our biology. Research in the field of structured liquid crystalline water can, should, and eventually will revolutionize and transform healthcare and medicine, aging and life expectancy, disease treatment and prevention, including that of mental illness and genetic defects. And as Dr. Batman-Gallage said, it is unintentional chronic dehydration that causes pain and disease, including cancer in the body. As Dr. Sarimoto said, it is chronic water shortage in the body that causes most of the diseases of the human body. And as Dr. Zach Bush said, if we could stay perfectly hydrated in the intracellular environment, our aging would slow down, if not reverse. Dr. Alexis Carroll said, if we'd renew the fluid surrounding the cell at regular intervals, in other words, stay hydrated, then the pulse of life could go on forever. Dr. Dana Cohen said, learning how to hydrate is the first step in treating and preventing chronic disease. Now, I could give you countless examples like these from medical doctors who see it in action every day. And it's really time that we start listening to the doctors that are devoting their lives to this research. It's time for the truth to come out. And the truth is, my friends, that water is life. And so therefore hydration is health. To be well, fill your well with good quality water. And I'm here to show you how. So if you want to know how to revive your drinking water, comment NW course. If you want to learn how to fully hydrate your body water, comment IO course. They would have to be separate comments for the links to send. And then go ahead and drop a comment and let me know which health and hydration pathway you'd like me to explore in the next episode. And until that video, be well and be water, my friend.